Can you hear me loud and clear?
Very loud.
Thank you. Welcome to the lecture program of the Royal Aeronautical Society. This year has been more significant in the sense that this is a celebratory year for the 150 years of the founding of Royal Aeronautical Society, which, as you know, was founded in 1866, 37 years before first powered and controlled flight took to the air. So today we have a world-renowned aviator here, Mr. Hardy. He has specially flown from the United Kingdom to be part of these celebrations. I will later on invite Captain Johnny Sadek to introduce him, but first may I request Mr. Munib Alam to come and recite from the Holy Quran. Mr. Munib Alam.
هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد صدق الله العظيم.
Captain Sadek, can you introduce the speaker? Yes,
Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon, everybody. My name is Captain Sadek, retired, and I'm here today to introduce our speaker, Mr. Richard Meredith-Hardy, who is an icon in microlight flying. Mr. Meredith-Hardy is a world-renowned aviator. He's been flying microlight since 1984. Twice named as the World Microlight Champion, and has held a number of speed records. He is the recipient of many prestigious awards and has flown over many mountain peaks on microlights. Aconcagua, I think that's the right pronunciation, which was 22,841 feet. Kilimanjaro, 19,341 feet. And Mount Everest, 29,035 feet. His notable flights include London to Harare, which is 12,500 miles. That would be quite a bit on my 747, but in a microlight, it's unbelievable. The first flight over Mount Everest on a microlight, that's what he did, and at the same time, he was towing a hang glider, flown by an Italian gentleman called Angelo the Aeronautico. The longest microlight voyage in the world was 13,000 miles from London to Sydney with a blind hang glider co-pilot, whose name was Miles Hilton-Barber. He served as president of the CIMA, which is the Commission Internationale de Microaviation, for 6 years. And after he retired, the World Air Sports Federation, FAI Aeronautics, and they appointed him as their President of Honor. We're very fortunate to have him here today, so please give him a big welcome. Without further ado, Mr. Richard Meredith-Hardy.
Good afternoon, everyone. My kind of flying is probably a little bit different to what most of you guys are doing here at PIA, so I hope you'll see that little aeroplanes can do some remarkable things. This is a story from 2004, so quite a few years ago now. I had been flying microlights for many years, as Captain Sadiq says, and this is a photograph over the Alps in 1996. We used to fly down to a big show in Italy every year in northern Italy, and it meant flying over here, and that's Mont Blanc, the tall one in the distance. So I had some experience of flying in mountains, but I have since got a lot more. This whole thing came about through a friend of mine, Angelo, who I met in the 1980s when we were doing competitions. Angelo is really a hang glider and paraglider pilot, but he started coming to microlight competitions for a few years. He comes from Sicily. That top right picture is him flying next to his locally exploding volcano, Mount Etna, and he got very interested in flying with birds of prey, and he trained up various hawks and eagles to fly with him, mostly in paragliders, and he actually had a couple of eagles which would land on a glove whilst he was flying along. It was an amazing sight. Sicily is, of course, on the main migratory route for birds to and from Africa to Europe, so you get a lot of birds flying through in the autumn and the spring, and so he thought that it would be an interesting idea to hang glide across the Mediterranean from Tunisia to Sicily, and originally he was going to do it with a balloon drop over Tunisia, and that all got far too complicated and expensive, so he came to me and said, well, what about the idea of aerotowing me? And which is how I got involved, and we started in the middle of Tunisia, worked our way up to the coast, and then did this 90-mile flight across from Tunisia to Sicily, arriving in Catania, his hometown, to great fanfare of the Italian press and everything. And Angelo was very good at raising money, attracting sponsors, which for these sorts of projects is crucial. You can have as many ideas if you like, but if you haven't got the money to do it, then it's hopeless. And Angelo was very good at raising money. I was good at the technical stuff, he was good at the money side. So he proposed to me that after the success of this, that perhaps we ought to go and try the same thing on Everest. Just a little bit more ambitious. You know, why not just start with a smaller mountain, but no, Everest was the one, because that was for him what he thought his sponsors would pay for. So a little bit about Everest and the history of Everest. Mount Everest, as you know, is the highest mountain in the world. It was first recorded by Sir George Everest in 1841 as peak 15. It was part of the Great Survey of India. They actually measured it using a theodolite from more than 200 miles distant. And the extraordinary thing was that he measured it to within about 30 feet of today's accepted height of Mount Everest. It was a remarkable feat. They had to include in their calculations the refraction of the air, curvature of the earth, all sorts of things, and to get that accurate was really a remarkable feat. It was eventually renamed Mount Everest after Sir George Everest, and of course it was first summited in 1953 by Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Norgay. It's located partly in Nepal, partly in Tibet, and you'll see a bit more about that as we go along. First people to fly over Mount Everest were the Houston Western Expedition in 1933, and I've found the photograph today, in fact, they did actually come here as part of their expedition. They flew, some of the people flew from London in 3 smaller aircraft, Tiger Moths, think, and to here. And the large aeroplanes, these Western Wallaces, very large. You can see the size of the people against them. These two Western Wallaces with a new supercharged engine were shipped out to Karachi, assembled here on this airfield, and then flown to Purnia. And of course, with the ships came masses of spares and everything, which all went on the train. And I read there was one account which said that the propellers on these Western Wallaces, they're one-piece wooden propeller, were so enormous that the goods carriages weren't long enough for them, and they had to cut a hole at the end of a goods carriage so that they could get the propeller in. There's the spare propellers. And they went across to Purnia in India and operated from there. At that time, Nepal was completely closed to foreigners. The only foreigners there were ambassadors, and but they did have a permission to do 2 flights over Nepal to try and fly over Everest. They had very little knowledge of the weather. The nearest weather station was in Darjeeling, which is still about 80 miles away from the mountain. They had no idea really. They attempted it in April, which by today's standards would be a little bit early. And they encountered some very, very high winds. We'll come to that in a minute. But here's a little bit of newsreel from the time.
Through the haze over the dusty plains of India, up into the crystal clear skies of the Himalayas. Ridge after ridge, peak after peak, and then Everest. Up through the icy blizzard streaming off the summit, above 30,000 feet. And we were over by only 100 feet. But it was 100 feet over the roof of the world.
Here at RAeS was a pilot of a British aeroplane which flew over Mount Everest, the highest peak in the world, for the first time in history. And yet, after their magnificent achievement, hardly anybody seems to know they're home again. They spent quietly in the rental aerodrome stopped. On the left, squadron leader Martin Clydesdale, on the right, Flight Lieutenant Angelo. A great crowd had gathered on the aerodrome to welcome them. Not only is Lord Clydesdale member of Parliament for each race crew, but they are both pilots of the City of Glasgow squadron of the auxiliary air force. Well, once again, it's been shown that British aeroplanes can tackle anything. But we owe a tremendous amount also of the woman who made this triumph possible, Lady Houston, without whose finance the attempt would never have been made.
So as you can see, even in 1933 they had trouble raising money for these things. And Lady Houston was a very rich lady. She funded that Everest expedition, and it was a great feat at the time. So a few people have been to Everest in small aircraft after that. Maurice Wilson was the next person. He was a little bit odd. He learned to fly, specifically to go and fly over Everest. He then remarkably managed to fly to India, by which time he decided that flying wasn't such good fun and sold his aeroplane He then decided to walk up Everest anyway, which in those days involved going from Darjeeling right round across the Himalayas and approaching from the Tibet side, because remember the border was closed. And he walked up Everest and was never heard of again, or at least it wasn't until the next year's expedition by Eric Shipton found his body with his diary in a tent. And he had just literally walked up the mountain until he died. John Jordan is a chap who lives not far from me actually. He had to go flying over Everest in 1951 in a Spearman. Died a couple of years ago now, and but he didn't. He only got up to about 22 or 23,000 feet, I think. The 1986 Good Cozy Kites and Kayak expedition was the first time anyone went anywhere near Everest with microlights. I've got a bit of film from them later. Jean-Marc Bovin was the first person to fly a paraglider off the summit of Everest, and he managed to make it from the summit, or very close to the summit, down to base camp in something under 5 minutes, which shows you how well paragliders flew in 1985. But more like a brick than a wing. 1990, the Japanese had a go at flying a balloon over Everest and crashed into the side and narrowly escaped with their lives. In 1991, there was a UK-Australian balloon expedition which had tons and tons of equipment, and they did succeed in flying over Everest. In 1993, my friend Jan Ben went and tried to fly over Everest with a microlight, and had endless technical problems and failed. And in 2001, David Templeman Adams wanted to have a fly over Everest in a balloon, the famous balloonist, and was stopped at the last minute because 9/11 happened and the Chinese closed all their airspace. And finally, Bertrand Roche and Claire Bernier-Roche, they paraglided a tandem paraglider off the summit in 2001. So, looking at the history of it, I was well aware that the chances of going near to Everest in something like a microlight and succeeding were pretty slim, and we had to be very properly prepared. So this, just to give you an idea of the terrain, this is a photograph which was taken by one of the balloons of that UK-Australian expedition. And in fact, the second balloon there wasn't there. It was a Photoshop. This is a Photoshop job. It's what it should have looked like. But in the bottom right-hand corner here, we've got the summit of Everest, and then as you go anti-clockwise round, you've got the South Col, and the next peak on the left-hand side is Lhotse, and then you've got the Lhotse-Nuptse Ridge, and with Nuptse at the top of the picture there. So you have, and this valley up the middle is known as the Western Cone. And the point here is that, as you'll see from my later pictures, Everest is very well protected by some other very large mountains. What happened with the balloons was that they both tried to set off at the same time, but actually left about 5 minutes apart. And when that happens in a balloon, they got separated. So they, in fact, in reality, one was always a sort of speck in the distance to the other one. So they never got this close, but they did both more or less fly over the top of Everest like this. So how to do it in a microlight, and I did a tremendous lot of research on this, and came across a man called Emil Wick, who was a Swiss man, and he was working for Royal Nepal Airlines from 1972 to 84, flying Pilatus Porters around the Himalayas, they had a regular flight into some of the small flights into the small airfield, very high altitude airfields. Pilatus Porters were about the only thing that could do it. And he was contacted by a chap called Professor Ward Hinman, who was a professor of meteorology at the University of New York, who was very interested in the idea of gliding over Everest. And Ward Hinman and Emil Wick co-authored a scientific paper which I found very deeply buried in a library, which had this map in it, and this map is a hand-drawn map of how to fly over Everest in a small aircraft, and it was absolutely key to our flight. It was a remarkable thing. I wish I had met Emmerich. He actually died in, I think in 2001, but even when we went back, we were there in 20 years after he left Nepal, and people would talk about Emmerich. He was a sort of a legend. I have one story that was told me. He said he came back once. Some chap told me he came back once from flying up there, and he said, "Today I have flown across Everest backwards." And there was such a strong wind. Anyway, another person I talked to a lot was this chap Jan Ben. He's a Czech pilot. He had, if you remember from my thing, he had a go at flying over Everest in 1996, and he went back to the Himalayas in 2000 to have a go at flying over Annapurna, which is it's still an 8,000 metre mountain, but it's logistically much easier. And he succeeded at doing that, and had lots of technical issues, which he told me about with our particular equipment, and they made it possible for our expeditions to succeed. So, if you remember, I'm not just trying to fly a microlight over Everest, I have to tow a hang glider over Everest, and this is a lot more difficult. Towing hang gliders is a slightly strange business, and this is kind of what it looks like when you take off. You have it's about a 90-metre long rope, on the lightweight rope, which is actually, remember I've got a pusher propeller, and it's actually attached onto me in the middle of the propeller. Sounds a bit risky, but actually you can taxi around on the ground with it, trailing out the back. It works remarkably well. I've got a release. I can, if something goes wrong, I can let go, release it. But more normally, the other end, he's got a release, and he lets go when he's got to the height that he wants to. And that yellow thing in the middle is a little drogue chute, which when the tension comes off, it opens to about this wide, and it just stops the rope from flailing around. And so this is what it's all about. And we went to Antalya in France to do some trials. This is about halfway between Angelo and me. And we got up to 18,250 feet, and really the aeroplane wouldn't go any higher. This was using a stock microlight. So it was pretty obvious. We had 10,000 feet short, or a bit more than 10,000 feet short of our target. So it was pretty obvious that we had to get a bit more technical. And so we started messing around with turbocharged engines, and the Pegasus and Main Air, who were the two big manufacturers, in Britain, they helped along with Skydriver with the engine importers, and we fitted up this very odd machine, which was a very, very slow wing with this massively powerful engine on it. You had to, in normal circumstances, you had to be very careful on the throttle because it was capable of going pretty much straight up. There was also the business of oxygen, and the balloonists particularly are very good at oxygen systems. We had some unusual problems, notably with Angelo. In his hang glider, he's flying prone, he's lying down head first. So most oxygen masks, and we tried lots. The one on the top left is a British one. The one on the bottom is an American one. We tried lots with Angelo because he's flying head down. A lot of sort of gob and liquid drops into the valves and freezes them. So how to deal with this? And actually the solution in the end was that one at the bottom is a mask known as an MBU-23, and it's the very latest and greatest high-performance jet fighter pilot mask from the American military, which you can buy brand new on eBay for about $150. Wow. And it has the valves up on the top of the top of the tin here, so when you've got your head down, the valves don't get iced up. The high altitude compensating regulators that we use is that one on the right there, which were used in things like Buccaneers and Harriers. They were a British one, and I didn't know which one the best one to use, but they were very well programmed by the balloonists. When the balloonist guys, when they go over 20, 30, 40,000 feet, they always use these regulators. There were a lot of other issues. We were using some lightweight carbon wound oxygen bottles, which we would have to refill in Nepal, and I discovered that the oxygen was only available at 150 bar, because they didn't dare blow up their own bottles any more than that, because they thought they would explode, so they bashed them around a lot. So,